managerial accounting, margin of safety. Now we've got a new contribution margin income statement up here. I've made a few changes. First of all, notice that the price per unit is now $25 per unit, and we've sold 50 units instead of the 25 that we had sold in the first example. Also, variable costs are now $15 per unit, so our contribution margin is only $10 per unit. The other change is that fixed costs in this example are $200. So at a $10 contribution margin and 50 units sold, we have a total contribution margin of $500 with fixed cost of $200. Then in this situation, we've got an operating profit of $300. Now, sometimes what management may want to know, rather than knowing break-even point, they may want to know, well, how bad can things get? Particularly in the economy that we've been experiencing the last couple of years, managers want to know how much can sales fall before we start incurring losses. And the answer to that question is to calculate the margin of safety. Margin of safety, which answers the question, how much can sales fall before we begin incurring a loss with everything else held constant. Now, to calculate that, we take a look at current sales. Now, this can be stated as either current sales in dollars or current sales in units, whichever is the appropriate framework for the person answering the question. So with this new set of data, our current sales in dollars is 1,250, and in units we're selling 50 units to achieve that $1,250 in sales. Now, from that number, we subtract break-even point sales. Now, for this new set of data, we're going to have to step aside for a second and calculate the break-even point sales. So we'll use our shortcut approach. Break-even point, remember, is equal to total fixed costs divided by contribution margin. In our new example, total fixed costs are $200, and our contribution margin is $10. So our break-even point in units is 20. And at a sales price of $25, that's the equivalent of $500 in sales. So we compare our current sales. You could also use budgeted sales. If plans go awry, how bad can things get before we start incurring a loss? In this case, we've got current sales data, and we subtract break-even point sales. So for the dollar total, that's $500. So our margin of safety in dollars, 1,250 minus 500, our margin of safety is $750. Or on a unit basis, currently we're selling 50 units. Break-even sales is 20 units, so 50 minus 20, we could sell at the current price and variable cost and fixed cost, we could sell 30 fewer units before we started incurring a loss. Now, we could also state this in terms of a percentage simply by dividing. The 30 divided by the 50 would give us the percentage decline in sales before we begin incurring a loss. And let's see real quick, 30 divided by 50, that's 60%. So the margin of safety right now is 60% of current sales, either per unit or in units or in total sales dollars.